This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to the Batman Universe Comic Podcast, Episode 18, Season 14. I'm your host, Ian, and I have with me...
This is Dev.
And this is Theo.
Today, we just have our review of Detective Comics 1064, a few bits of news, and another big General Gotham. Another big Greater Gotham. So let's get into the news. Just a few pieces. The first one is, if you are subscribed to Wayne Family Adventures on Webtoons, you probably have noticed it's already started. We're recording on Tuesday, but we got the announcement that it's starting on Wednesday, and we're very excited to see that. Steph and I did a lot of reviews for that season 1. So check that out on the website. Really enjoyable series.
Let me just say that even though Theo is not included on the reviews of Wayne Family Adventures, Wayne Family Adventures is as good, if not better, than some TBU books.
Oh yeah,
on the stand,
for sure,
without doubt.
I mean, it's shooting for a different audience. It's a different kind of book, but it's a very, very enjoyable, very well done book. We also have the announcement that made me want to hit my head into the wall that Stephanie Phillips is leaving Harley Quinn in April, and Teenie Howard and artist Sweeney Boo will be picking up that book in March of next year. The book is not supposed to be renumbering, and so it'll probably continue sort of along the way it is, but my guess it will probably start doing crossovers with Catwoman and Punchline. I hate everything about this. I want to hit my head on my chair and cry, and I'm just not happy.
Is it a soft chair?
It is not.
No.
I am very upset by this news.
No, I forget. Do you like Sweeney Boo or do you hate Sweeney Boo? Or you like?
I like Sweeney Boo. I think she's a good artist.
Okay.
She is not the reason I'm upset. I actually would be perfectly fine if Stephanie Phillips would continue and Sweeney Boo were the regular artist.
When it's Teenie taking over?
March.
Oh, okay.
Now, the reason I do mention this a little bit is, so my theory is that we're going to have some kind of big relaunch, not a reboot, but a relaunch like Infinite Frontier in January. However, my other theory is that we're going to have a crossover between Batman Detective Comics and Catwoman in January. And if that would mean you'd have a 6-issue crossover in January and February, and then March would be the soft relaunch. So it's possible they're doing that. And it's possible I'm full of nonsense and they're not doing any of what I'm saying. But this is a piece of evidence that I could see pointing towards a relaunch in March.
Don't care.
Or maybe she's just quitting the book and they needed someone to replace her.
Hey, which is fine by me, because if she's focusing more on Grimm, her independent book that she's doing over at Boom, I am not going to complain about that. That is
it a good one?
Oh my God, it's awesome.
Excellent.
I'll have to share it with you.
Nice. Yeah. Last thing, Fandom is not happening this year. Probably because that was really just a thing that DC was doing, make up for the fact that they weren't doing cons, because cons were expensive with all the COVID procedures or shut down because of COVID. So they did Fandom, which is an online convention. But since they're doing a bunch of conventions this year, they're not doing Fandom this year. I personally think that the next big announcement is going to be at New York Comic Con next month in October. That's how DC's usually run its big announcements at New York. They usually don't do much at San Diego or C2E2. Usually DC does a lot of stuff at New York Comic Con.
They were doing a lot of stuff at WonderCon too at one point.
Where is WonderCon?
Anaheim.
Okay. I honestly haven't noticed that one. So
not recent, but in past years. And
okay.
the rumor was that Anaheim was closer to headquarters, so they had a lot more people available.
Yeah. I just remember back in 2013 when they announced that Stephanie Brown was coming back to comics at New York Comic Con. So that's where I started paying attention to that. And we also, over the last couple of weeks, had Batman Day, which was fun. They had the free sampler books of Hush and Batman's Mystery Casebook by Shawley Fish. Really fun little thing. I did the review of the full-length graphic novel, so if you wanted to get a teaser of that book, a lot of comic stores still have stacks of that free issue if you want to come in. Not all of them, I can't guarantee it. But
I got mine at Books A Million.
Yep, and I've seen some of them at Barnes & Noble too, so all depends on what your local stores are doing.
I didn't participate this year. Batman Day isn't what it used to be, but how did the epilogue go, the sequel?
No, this was just the the first issue of Hush. The
it was the first.
Hasn't released yet.
I thought it was including that in the Batman Day special.
They're doing it. No, they didn't include it.
Okay.
Let me see when that's releasing. The 21st anniversary.
Is that getting released piecewise or as a collected? I guess
it's collected.
It's collected.
No, it's collected.
Okay.
All right. So the oh my goodness, it's $50.
$50.
Wow.
That's
a lot.
Yep, I will definitely be reading.
Oh, okay. It's hardcover. That makes sense. But still, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Definitely be reading the review copy.
Okay, so that's scheduled to come out October 18th. So next
Shadows. I'm excited for Shadows in hardcover, though.
Shadows of the Bat.
I miss you, Mariko. Come back.
Mariko's back.
Yes, kind of, sort of.
Well, not really.
Not at all. Well, she is tonight.
Yeah, she is tonight. Mm-hmm. That's what I meant.
Right, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Do we?
No. We want to start with our review of Detective Comics number 1064.
You say want.
I mean, I would like... I'm enjoying the book, even though I can't tell you what's happening.
Yeah.
So let's get started with our review of Detective Comics 1064.
Detective Comics 1064, Story 1, Gotham Nocturne Overture, Part 3, written by Ram V with art by Raphael Albuquerque. Years ago, Talia al Ghul trains her son Damien in sword fighting. The young heir to the demon's head, however, wants to hear the story of Farhad, the grim soldier. The young mother obliges and tells the story of the man whose devotion to his gods, who put a demon inside of him, cost him the love of his life. In the present, Bruce Wayne visits a doctor at Gotham City's General Hospital. The doctor is astonished by the level of injuries to Bruce's body, but while he sees Bruce is in otherwise excellent health, he feels the former billionaire is suffering from panic attacks. Little does he know that he's alone. Bruce has made his way to another part of the hospital where, wearing a ski mask, he pays a visit to Lewis, one of the goons he took down at the Gotham docks. He wants to know more about who paid him. After roughing Lewis up some, the thug gives Batman the information he was seeking. Batman knows exactly who was running things. Batman arrives at the abandoned Pennyman Theater, where he finds Talia al Ghul waiting on him. She knows he would figure things out, but had hoped he wouldn't have shown up. The two begin to fight, and before long, Batman realizes that Talia is trying to distract him. He just doesn't know from what. Talia sets off an explosion, causing Batman to fall through the floor. Talia leaves as the remainder of the abandoned building collapses to the ground. At Gotham Harbor, the media is abuzz about the arrival of Prince Arzen as he comes as an emissary of his mother. The mayor and the police chief are all in attendance for the pageantry. Little do they know that they are not the only ones awaiting the arrival of Prince Orgum. The League of Assassins are also waiting for the yacht to arrive. The League, however, doesn't know that Gale is expecting him. He informed his colleagues to let the attack happen. Just ensure the prince is protected. Back at the destroyed Penniman Theater, a grapnel gun rises from the rubble, pulling the Dark Knight from the ashes.
So, this is the second to last issue of this arc. Do you have a sense of what the story structure is yet?
No. It's tension building, but I don't know if it's done super well. Like, you know what this kind of reminded me of? Have you guys ever seen Rat Race?
No.
Oh my gosh. Watch that at 1 a.m. sometime, or when you've maybe
1 a.m.
when you've imbued a little too much and your brain is loopy. It's one of the best movies.
I just watch Cobra Kai at 1 a.m.
It's one of the best movies of all time if you're in the right mindset.
Movie.
At 1
and
at
the end of the movie, like all these people are running to one particular spot, and they all have trackers on them, but things keep happening to them as they get closer and closer to the goal, and they're getting slower and slower, and they keep getting to, like, they're having to zoom in on the map to see that their little markers are actually moving because they're moving so slow.
They've stopped. No. They're moving. Look.
That's this. That boat is getting closer and closer, but it's never actually reaching the docks, and we're never going to get there. In conclusion, I don't know where this story is going, but it's not going to end with the next issue. The arc might be over, but I'm guessing the arc is just, I'm on a boat. Like, that's the arc, is I'm on a boat.
I mean, I think that the arc's going to end in a cliffhanger, because we know that the run's going to go on for a while.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't even know if it'll end on a cliffhanger. I think it'll just, it'll have to, because it's going to continue on in the next issue, because there's literally no way this issue can end in the story can end in the next issue. There's no way.
And it doesn't. And I mentioned it in my review. So first of all, as I wrote my review, I'm thinking this is a 6-issue story arc, and now Ian has really knocked me down to earth and putting out there that it's only 4. And the burn and the build in this story is just so slow. It's almost as if Robbie is trying to put everything out there for us, even though we may not need it. I mean, this is almost the opposite of off-paneling, where stuff happens and you just don't know it. He's just putting everything out there, and I appreciate a lot of it. But if this arc is supposed to end next issue, man, there's going to be a lot of holes open. And again, like Steph mentioned, the arc may be ending in the story. The story's not. I mean, and we know that from solicits and so forth. But oh man, this story has gone not that far in 3 issues, which is a little unfortunate.
And it may be that when it's all done, we'll come to appreciate it, and maybe we'll look back and go, "Oh, look, this connects it all together." But right now, it just doesn't seem like Batman's doing anything except getting tricked by Talia and needing therapy, which is always the case. And I just can't think of anything that's moved forward from the first issue. Like, we may know a little bit more of the history, but nothing in the story has moved forward.
I can appreciate the fact that for once, since Ron V's taken over, he did not have Barbados.
So I completely agree with you guys. I feel like this story is really not moving at all. But it's weird. I can't tell you what's happening in this issue or this arc, but there's so much emotion. And part of that is I really like Raphael Albuquerque. That image at the end of Batman Rising is amazing. It hits me emotionally right where I am. That's the kind of thing I just love seeing in a Batman comic.
And let me tell you, as someone who has not been a fan of Albuquerque's art in Detective, and I even said in my review for this issue, but you're absolutely right. The two panels that I really appreciate is one, him rising from the ashes of the building, but the other one was the one Steph posted in our Discord of, as she calls him, Spider-Bat.
Spider-Bat.
But there's just I don't know if it's the heavy lines or just the overall darkness of the shading because of how the story's being told, but for some reason Albuquerque hasn't clicked for me on the title.
I'll agree with that, but I also think this is of the 3 issues we've gotten so far, this has been my favorite art.
I will agree with that.
I mean, as you guys know, I've been on board with Albuquerque's art since the first issue. I've loved it. I think I've been consistent in saying it's just emotionally, but like that image at the end, the combination of the way, like Round V is writing very poetically, like it's very, I mean, it's an opera, so it works for me on an emotional level. I just can't really analyze plot or character. Like, I feel like his voice for Bruce is good. I think character-wise, it's good. It's just plot-wise, I'm just like, where is this all going? Like in Catwoman, like when I was writing reviews for Catwoman that Ron V was writing, I could always put the pieces together because it was a very tightly plotted crime story with all these interlocking characters and organizations and stuff. And here, I'm like, we have this organization of the Orgums, who are actually a renamed Arkham, and we have Batman, and then we have Barbados, and I have no idea how anything connects, and Two-Face is doing something, and it's weird. Anyway, I don't know what's going on, but I feel it. I feel the poetry of both the words and the visuals, and I'm enjoying it. I cannot say I like it as much as Batman, because Batman I understand, and I'm just like sucked along by the action of the characters. But this one, I'm just sort of like enjoying, like, I don't know, like a blanket on my brain.
I will say, I think I can see, like, this is not bad. This is just not maybe my favorite. And so,
no, I would say this is much more enjoyable than Josh Williamson's run.
Oh, for sure. No, I would take this over that any day. And I'm sure this resonates, like, with you. This is going to resonate. Every kind of story is going to resonate with someone. They wouldn't sell it if someone was not buying it. Someone is buying this. And so, yeah, it's not bad. It's just not my favorite. And it's not my story that I would sit for entertainment for.
It's just slow.
It's very slow. I will not disagree. It's very slow.
It seems like one of those stories where you will have to read it in collected edition to really get the type of appreciation it probably deserves.
I don't really have a whole lot more to say about this issue, just because
we talked about a lot. We probably got through your questions before you can even ask them.
Yeah, so let's move on to our backup.
Do we have to?
We unfortunately do, but make it quick.
Story 2, Dakota Part 3, written by Cyspiria with art by Donnie. Outside of the condemned shelter, Jim Gordon confronts Detective Urquhart. Gordon sees the wrecking ball getting closer to the building. He also sees the demonic eyes looking from the unmarked car across the street. Urquhart tells the old police commissioner that no one will miss the riffraff trapped inside because there's a new Gotham on the horizon. They're not a part of the plans. The boy trapped at Arkham isn't important either. He's nothing but a thief. All Gordon needed to do was to get the 3 of them into the building, and everything else would have been taken care of. Instead, Jim Gordon arrived alone. Suddenly, the detective's eyes change, and he begins speaking in a different language, the language of those possessed by the asthma. He attacks and overcomes the old police commissioner. Before he's able to do much harm, the boy from Arkham arrives. He realizes that something's dark within Urquhart. The tattoo on his back begins to glow, and he attacks the possessed police detective. Gordon wants him alive to get answers, but is of no use. Urquhart dies as the asthma leaves his body. The shelter's occupants begin to come out of hiding. They're scared, but they have hope in their eyes. Jim Gordon looks at his savior and he makes a promise to help him find out who he really is and how he ended up in the walls of Arkham Asylum. But first, there's pizza.
Did you guys read the final issue of the Joker number 15?
Oh.
No.
I don't remember. Yes, I did. Yes.
Does this at all feel in any way connected to what James Tynion was doing with Jim Gordon?
James Tynion? Not particularly.
Yeah, in the Joker, because that's the last time.
I know. I'm no. I think Theo is saying, because I'll be honest, I kind of read the backup when I was not in sound mind, and he caught on to a lot of stuff that I didn't, about how it connects to the rest of the arc and the story, and what's his name, Two-Face, with the MIS Mar or whatever. But no, it's not to the Joker stuff, not to the storyline it's supposed to directly precede.
I really don't like how Spurrier wrote Jim. He just doesn't feel like the same character.
Yeah. I liked the kid at the end, and I like that Jim has a weird little relationship with him at the end. It's like his own little Robin. It's kind of cute. But yeah, the story didn't have too much going for it.
I did think it was really interesting how it basically leads to the end of the main story. But I don't really know what. I still don't really understand how it's supposed to add to the story.
Well, at the end, you've got Jim and what's his name? Bodecker. Jim and his friend.
Yeah. Wait,
Harvey Bullock, thank you.
Yeah.
Opening a detective agency. Maybe that'll be featured in the main somehow. I don't know. And the kid. Oh man, I kind of want to see the kid again. I like the kid. I bet that's what it is. I bet the kid and Harvey and Gordon are coming back as private eyes in the next in the arc. That is my hope. Do you think you'd like a Rom V written Gordon?
I definitely want to see him try. I liked how he wrote the cops in his Catwoman run. I thought they were textured and interesting characters. I think he could do a better job than Spurrier on Gordon. And I like Danny's art for the Miracle Molly one shot. I didn't like it here. It was too weird.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it kind of fit with the weirdness, but I don't know. Meh.
Well, I think I think that that's the only reason this was done. That it was to allow Jim to return to the main story, because up until this point, it just didn't have any clue. And I give kudos to DC and Spurrier, because again, I've been complaining since Tamaki was gone about the fact that the backups had gone awry again, and having stories not connect to the main story as what's going on in Batman, and then we get what happens at the end. But again, I think the only purpose is to allow Jim Gordon to get back into the main.
What should we do our ratings out of this time?
Pete Dawes. Baby Damien's?
Burned building.
Burned buildings.
All right. So for Detective Comics 1064, main story and backup, what would we give this out of 5 burned buildings?
How about out of 5 Ascending Batman?
I do like that. Okay, we'll do 5 Ascending Batman.
Okay. Not 5.
No.
Oh gosh. Ugh. Well, the art was better. The story's not going anywhere. Oh. 2.5. Am I being too mean? 2.5.
I mean, if we're counting the backup, I don't think you're being too mean.
Okay, I'm including. Although I really did like the kid, but it wasn't. By no means was that anything to write home about or save the story. So 2.5.
I'm going to rate this 3 out of 5. I think it was slightly better than average when you include things like the art and the feeling.
So on the site, I gave Tech a 3.5. Because that's all I can do. But I thought it's more of a 3.25. It's not quite that great, but it's not that bad. So 3.25 for me.
Sounds fair. Because we're not allowed on our reviews to do the quarters and stuff that we like to do on the cast. So 3.25. With my rating of a 3, that gives us an average of 2.92. Sadly, no mode.
All right. I did good, y'all.
Whether you are a first-time TBU Comics podcast listener, a 13-year veteran, or anything in between, we'd love to hear what you think about this episode or any of the comics we discussed. Send emails to tbu@thebatmanuniverse.net. Join our Discord server linked at thebatmanuniverse.net. Send us a tweet at TBU_comics. Or, if you're a patron, leave us a comment on our Patreon page. We'd also love it if you left us a review on iTunes. We'd love to read your comments on the next episode of the Batman Universe Comics Podcast. Batman may claim he works alone, but we know that he needs the Bat Family. Join the TBU Bat Family and let us know what you think.
So we're going to start out with a very exciting book for me, personally, which is Batman One Bad Day, Two-Face, which is by Marco Tamaki and Javier Rodriguez, colors by Jordi Belair. And this book, to me, feels like the continuation we should have gotten from Detective Comics. It feels like the last arc that we should have gotten instead of the Riddler arc that felt rushed and inconsistent compared to this. This just feels exactly like Tamaki writing Shadows of the Bat and the Neighborhood. What do you think?
I agree. I think, it was definitely better than whatever was at the end of her run. But I will say, detective-wise and like how I feel Batman should have solved this, I was actually pretty disappointed. I did not love this story, but I mean, didn't hate it either. It wasn't like she was poorly written or a bad voice. I felt like Batman was too stupid. I felt like Steph should have been in charge, and if she had been in charge, everything would have been fine. But Batman let his heart lead him, and that's, I guess, not a bad thing because Batman always loves Harvey. But meh. I wasn't impressed with the detective work, but it was overall like still a really great story.
I think that's fair. Theo, are you with us again?
Is a thumbs up for me. I definitely understand the criticism Steph has, but I think just, as she also mentioned, knowing Bruce's history with Harvey, you could see why Tamaki took him down the route that she took him. I was not as crazy about the ending. I mean, because, who wants to see someone kill their father in cold blood? But overall, it was a good story for me, so thumbs up.
I mean, I definitely see what you're saying, Steph, but it just didn't bother me. And I don't know, maybe people will be like, yes, proof, Ian does not like Batman. He does not care. I don't think that's the case, but I just loved the texture of this book, and it felt like a tense, dark story. And I love the fact that even though the ending is very tragic, it feels like an homage to The Killing Joke without being like a copy of The Killing Joke. Like, I felt part of the problem with the Riddler one that Tom King does, it felt too much like a copy of The Killing Joke too often. And this feels like it's inspired by, but it's doing more of its own thing. It has more of its own flavor. And that's partly, I think, because Tamaki ties it so strongly to her own Detectives Comics run. Whereas King doesn't tie. I mean, King ties his book to The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
It doesn't tie it to his Batman run. It doesn't tie it to Batman Catwoman. It's like purely tied to The Killing Joke. This is tied to Shadows of the Bat. This is, I mean, you've got Mayor Nakano. You've got, just the setup of Batman working heavily with the Bat family. All of that is exactly how Tamaki was writing Batman in Detective Comics. So that's why I say it feels like the true finale to that run.
Yeah, and I remember when the Riddler came out, the Riddler one shot came out, and we get that ending. And the first question I asked on the server was, are all the stories supposed to be like this? Just rewritten takes on Detective. And,
yes. I mean, the pitch was called The Killing Year. So originally it was going to be 12 stories all about like The Killing Joke.
And I was not excited at all. And then this issue came out, and I was, again, not crazy about the idea of Harvey killing his dad the way he did. But I was pleasantly surprised with how the story went. And again, as Ian explained it, I can now see this being a true ending to her run, much better than what we got with that Riddler story.
Yeah. I'm very pleased. Thumbs up for me for sure.
And I don't know if I said it, but I said thumbs up even though they weren't like enthusiastic though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Task Force Z number 12, the end of this series by Matt Rosenberg and Eddie Barrows.
Well, I think I liked the ending more than the last few issues. What did I say? What did I say for this one when I read it? Neutral. It's still a well-earned neutral. It just went off the rails. I don't even know.
Yeah, I was liking it until issue 9, and then issue 10 was just like weird exposition dumps, and I got really lost.
Yeah.
But this issue, I feel, got it back on track. I was kind of thumbs up, and I will admit, Stephanie Brown shows up, and she's cool, so it always gives us a couple extra points. Elevates the thumb a little bit. Theo, I forget. I feel like you weren't reading this, but were you reading this?
Nope.
Okay, so that's an abstain. Now, the one thing I want to bring up with this is we have Two-Face showing up Detective Comics, Two-Face showing up in One Bad Day, and Two-Face showing up as a main character. Like, he is a huge main character in Task Force Z.
He's like the less evil Waller. Hard to tell.
Yeah, he and Amanda Waller are playing a chess game the whole thing. What is going on? What is editorial thinking here? This is ridiculous.
And then he kind of turns code at the end too, because he's all, I'm kind of okay now. You can trust me, blah blah blah. And at the end, he's like, rah, ha 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 ha. Like what?
Yeah, like how does this make sense? None of the portrayals of Two-Face work with each other. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So even though I'm giving Task Force Z number 12 a thumbs up, I'm giving editorial a thumbs down here. That's major fail.
Yeah. Someone have to send Ben a memo that they need to have more Batroom meetings again.
Yes, I agree. Batman Superman World's Finest number 7.
Oh gosh, I read it. Oh, that was cute. I didn't thumbs up. That was cute. It has nothing to do with Batman Robin. But so I don't know when they're going to do that crossover, but it's cute.
Abstain.
Also abstaining. Catwoman number 47.
Thumbs down. Oh, I said thumbs up. Maybe that was a typo. I think that was a typo. I think that was a typo.
A thumbs up.
I don't think I meant that.
Bad fill-in art, and Valmont's quote-unquote romance was like trash.
No, yeah. Listen, I'm not against Catwoman having a little chinka on the side, but whatever's going on with Valmont is horrid. It started out okay, but now it's just whatever is this.
If you're going to have Catwoman have a love interest, like the detective that Ram V wrote, like he was a cool character. I wasn't a person.
Yeah.
But Valmont, there is no reason for Catwoman to like him because he's stupid and shallow.
Yeah.
Although in this book, he actually does better at planning than Catwoman. Like Catwoman's continues to be beyond incompetent in this series, and Valmont actually is successful twice in a row. And plus bad fill-in art. Thumbs all the way down for this book. Continues to suck.
Let me just say, so I have not bought a Catwoman issue since Teeny Howard got on the book. And I did that because I promised Ian that I wouldn't until he said that it was good enough to read again. I just put an order in for an issue, the one coming out in November, only because Jim Balin is doing a variant cover, and he's doing a variant of my favorite rendition of Catwoman and the Woman in Purple. So if it wasn't for that, I still will not be buying this book. And believe me, I'm only buying the issue for the cover. I will not be reading it.
I totally respect that. I myself have bought variant covers just for a certain blonde-haired vigilante. Deceased, War of the Undead Gods, #2.
Oh, thumbs up. I've never cared so much about Ring Corps or whatever they're called. Lantern Corps. Or is it the old gods or the new gods?
New gods.
New gods. I've never cared so much since ever. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that battle with
Sinestro.
Yeah, and you could see that Sinestro might have been able to get an upper hand had it not been for Colin the Core showing up, and it gave me Infinity War vibes, like when Quill goes and starts smacking on Thanos and wakes him up when right at the point they are getting the gauntlet off of him. Mm-hmm. That's the vibe I had, Mm-hmm. Sinestro and the Yellow Lantern Corps are about to really take it to Darkseid and the New Gods, and then all of a sudden, here comes Colin. You just want to smack him senseless. And because of that, everybody dies, but the two remaining lanterns. But yes, thumbs up.
Abstain.
Shucky.
Harley Quinn, 30th anniversary, 100-page special.
I'm going to have to give this as an abstain, but I skimmed through it and I read the Stefan Shirjic one and I read the Paul Dini Guillaume March one, which had Carpenter in it, so now I'm tempted to buy the whole daggum book for one panel of one character.
We are so financially irresponsible. Listeners, do not listen to us. We make bad financial decisions.
Listeners, don't listen to Ian. He makes bad financial decisions.
You both confessed to buying books you weren't going to read for cover characters. I can buy a book I'm not going to read for one character who shows up.
Exactly. There you go. So
that's what I'm saying. All three of us.
Buy the Jim Balin cover of Catwoman and call it a day, guys.
But the two stories I read were actually, I mean, the Stefan Chajik one wasn't life-changing.
I was a bit disappointed because, and I know it's not fair because I was hoping for, the kind of depth you got in Harley.
Yeah.
And you need a full book for that.
Yeah.
And I could see the hints of that. But it just, after Harleen, the short stories just don't cut it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I promised to read that Cedric story, but I didn't because, again, it's just Harley Quinn and I just can't bring myself to do it. So
he does take a stab at the movie Harley because Catwoman's there, like, telling Harley, like, get a life, don't let, what is it? You'll be calling Joker daddy before you know it. And then she picks up the shirt from the movie that says daddy's a little girl or whatever it was. And, like, Harley makes this horrible face at the shirt and it's like, it's because this is a terrible shirt.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't read 100 pages of Harley. Can't do it. Sorry.
No.
I can do 100 pages of
I
Harley.
read it all. I'm giving it a thumbs down because a lot of those stories were just bad. But I did like the Paul Dini story because I'm a huge fan of Paul Dini's Gotham City Sirens. And this was it was like recapturing of that. I thought it was really fun.
That one was really cute. I like that one.
Nightwing number 96.
Oh, thumbs up. I read that one so long ago because Theo told me to read it, and it was so good.
See, folks, listen to Theo. Don't listen to Ian. This is
You definitely should listen to me if you like this book.
No, two thumbs way up. And I know Taylor did this in his Suicide Squad run, and I don't care. But the whole Comic Code Authority thing, just chef's kiss.
That was tough.
I laughed so hard at this issue. So fun.
I am trying to decide. It's either a neutral or thumbs down. I can't decide how irritated I am.
Oh God! Yeah, mute him, please. Just I can't with him.
I think I'm gonna say just neutral.
Good, I guess.
You suck.
Yes, I do. Batman Beyond the White Knight number 5.
Oh, thumbs up. Oh my gosh, I love this book so much. I love that Bruce is like getting into like he's starting to mess around with Joker a little bit with Jack. It's so good.
Two thumbs way up, and it's at this point that we will probably start to get Joker back. Remember, I kept saying when this series first started, or at least this volume of the series first started, that we were getting little hints of Joker, especially with Jack calling Bruce Bats. You know, that was a Joker thing. And now, how do you think Jack is going to take it hearing Harley tell Bruce how much she loves him?
Well, we kind of know a little bit from the preview images in the comic. There's going to be some hanky-panky between somebody, but we don't really know who yet, I guess.
So it is going to be, these remaining issues are going to be good.
I have to say I'm behind, so I am abstaining, but not because it's bad.
I think this is my favorite issue so far.
Excellent.
Yeah, this was a very good issue. You got to catch up, Ian.
Mm-hmm.
I will. Batman Fortress number 5.
Abstain.
Is anyone actually reading this one? I forget.
It is a neutral for me. This could have been a thumbs up, but I like Calder. But the whole making out on the beach and underwater, that I just don't get the point of that in the story with regards to the whole plot of trying to find Superman. I mean, it was fluff pages that did not need to be there. And
who's making out?
Calderon, Aqua.
Oh, okay.
Man, I think he's Aquaman now. But
since his book got canceled, we'll never know.
It wasn't needed. You know how it seemed like it was only added to ensure that they had 22 pages worth of story. And I just think it took away from what is going on. And again, I like the plot of, something's going on with Superman and people are looking for him, not just Bruce and, Lex Luthor, but some other alien beings who's the root to the problems going on on Earth. And they just throw some unneeded stuff out there. So it's a neutral, but this could have been a thumbs up if you had taken that fluff out.
Harley Quinn number 22.
Thumbs up. I mean, it's a little more serious than the previous story had been, but I think it was just an excuse to get Shirt Girl in the story. Angel Breaker.
I appreciate that we're back to Harley and Kevin's story, because I just didn't like the Task Force XX.
No.
But this is back to what I was enjoying, so thumbs up for me.
Yeah.
And this will be interesting. Tim Drake Robin number 1.
Okay. So the thing I knew I'd hate about it, I hated. The art was just, oh my gosh. And not even.
I like Riley Rossmo, but this was not good.
The art and like the character design was weird. Like his old lady neighbors were wearing like Laura Ingalls Wilder dresses. I didn't understand like the Little House on the Prairie dresses.
And Bernard looks like he went from like generic high school age boy to super flamboyant ex-stripper.
Or something. And then
it's creepy and weird.
And then once again, the only thing Tim had to say about Bernard is, I'm so happy with him. He makes my heart flutter. It's been 6 months. It's like, oh my gosh. Don't you have anything else to say about your relationship? Anyway. And then he's living on a boat for some reason, which was weird. I like the detective aspect of the story. I didn't hate the way Tim was written, other than how he talks about Bernard. But it wasn't good. It wasn't good. The art was bad, and most of the everything was bad.
Okay, so
overall, are you saying thumbs up, thumbs
down, thumbs down?
Okay.
I think I wrote down neutral, but the more I think about it, the more pissed off I'm getting. So thumbs down.
Totally fair.
Sorry, Theo.
No problem,
Theo.
So I know, and overall, this is going to be an abstain, but I'll say it this way. Okay, so I know I promised that I was going to read at least this issue, but unfortunately, Reddit got to me first. And just listening to everyone just tear this issue down and question why Chris Martin just seems to hate everything about Tim and comics and everything. I just said there's no way I'm reading this, because I could see myself pitching my tablet against the wall. And unlike jumping out my first floor window, my wall would break my tablet. So I would not be reading that. And I kind of feel justified listening to Steph, because I know I am not a huge fan of Riley Rossmo as well, with certain stories. Again, he works in Harley Quinn. He worked in that Robin story in the special. But just hearing this voice that she gives Tim is it's a huge disservice to the character, and I have no interest in it.
Give it a neutral, but it's not a happy neutral. The reason it's a neutral and not the other option would be thumbs down. There is no question this would ever get a thumbs up from me, just because it's half of an interesting book and half of a terrible book. Almost everything to do with Bernard and a lot of Tim's neighbors was awful. It's just stereotypes and really grating, sassy TV style dialogue.
Didn't the detective that they introduced as another LGBTQ character?
Bad.
He's like, I'm not your furry gay father or something. I was like,
it's
what?
So bad.
What are you talking about?
It's so bad. Just
oh god, I have no interest in it.
I'm very disappointed in that.
I could see myself going to DC headquarters over this, and I am not. And again, you guys know me. I am not the biggest fan of Tim Drake. He is my least favorite Robin. At me if you want.
Even less than Jason.
Oh yeah,
you voted to kill Jason.
I did vote to kill Jason, but so that moves him up now. I voted multiple times to kill Jason, and I have a whip or two on my butt to remind me of that.
Oh yeah, I remember that story.
Oh yeah,
I know, that's why I'm bringing it up, because I think it's hilarious.
But what I am a fan of is comic history, and I've read enough of Tim Drake as Robin to know this ain't him. And I absolutely hate what DC is doing and has done. And I think Ian probably sums it up best. I said earlier that I don't think Chris Martin generally likes comics, and Ian followed my statement up with, I just think she's incompetent, and that might be it.
Yeah. I mean, that's my thing, is I've listened to her on podcasts, and I get a sense that she's genuinely excited. I just think now this. Okay, I'm gonna be upfront with some biases here. I have never watched an episode of Supernatural. I have watched many episodes of various CW shows, and the Supernatural was on the CW. I think CW shows generally are badly written. They
moved
take
to there after it had been somewhere else. I think it was.
well, it lasted for what, like 10 or 12 seasons,
A very
so
long time.
quite possibly it did move.
I think it was always the CW.
Was it?
I think so.
By the time she was writing for it, it was definitely CW.
Okay.
And so I think that she just comes from a place where a lower standard of writing quality is expected. And I'm sure she works hard. I know that she tries to work hard. She's very enthusiastic about her various projects, but this feels shallow and stereotypical. And I think that's not because she is malicious, but I do think she's just not very good. She doesn't have a good grasp of how to write likable characters and write depth and dramatize emotions. And I just think that's a real weakness. I do think the thing that lifts it to a neutral for me is that I like the way she does the detective stuff. She's got both literary and like actual detective elements in what Tim is doing. And I think that's cool, and I think that is a good idea. But unfortunately, it's not well done. Oh, and I really like the character of Darcy, who is a deaf or hearing impaired girl who is part of the We Are Robin movement. And I love the We Are Robin movement. So
She was
bringing that...
She was in Future State too, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was one of the three main characters of the Future State Robin Eternal issue.
Yeah.
Also by Fitzmartin, understandably. And so I thought she was cool. I thought she was well done here. So those lifted up from a negative, from a thumbs down to a neutral. I am glad that it's not just a straight thumbs down. I was kind of afraid that I was just going to hate everything about this, and I only hate half of it, which is a win, you know? I will continue checking it out to see if it gets better. I would like it to get better. I do think that it's going to get axed after about 8 issues. It's possible it'll stick around for a year, but I really don't think so. I don't think people wanted this book this way. I know there are Tim Drake fans. I don't think the Tim Drake fans want this book.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad because I'm a Tim Drake fan. Like, so everyone knows Steph is my favorite Robin. She's also my favorite Batgirl and my favorite Batwoman. But
you're wrong.
Yes, I am incorrect. But if you say I can't have Steph, my favorite Robin is Tim, because he is who I grew up with. I love the sweetness of his character. I love his curiosity and his tenacity. And he's a nerd. I mean, he's an everyman. He was deliberately fashioned after Peter Parker. So he's got that everyman nerd sort of underdog quality to him that I love. So I would love to see Tim take the spotlight in a solo book. I don't like the way DC... Now, this isn't on Fitzmartin. This is on DC. DC's marketing this as Tim's the best Robin. I'm like... I mean, as a Tim fan, I don't mind that, but I know that it's kind of rude because we just had a really great Robin series with Damian. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's good marketing. I don't think pissing off part of your fan base to like please another part is good marketing. I don't like that at all. I don't think it's good.
Well, there's 5 Robins, so by saying one is the best, you're automatically alienating 4/5 of your fan base.
Exactly.
And your statement, Ian, is why I think, I know you're saying you think it may get axed after 8 issues. I don't think so. I think DC is going to die on this hill.
Oh, boy.
And
oh, bad.
Just because that's what they seem to be doing a lot of these days. Just making a lot of dumb decisions, and after backlash or whatever, bad sales, they just won't own up to it. I mean,
but they did kill they killed Wonder Girl, they killed Aquaman. So I feel like they could kill some of these books.
But here's the thing. People wanted Wonder Girl.
That's true. They did.
They didn't want that book axed, and they did it anyway. So
I think that's because Joelle Jones was proving to be a really difficult person to work with.
And I think DC is going to die on this hill, and just like they like to force feed us a bunch of crap that we may not want, a la Bruce and Talia, that's coming.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Please no.
It's not coming.
I just think that DC is going to die on this hill because unlike before where they may retcon stuff, to make it seem like, it just never happened, I don't think they're going to do that. And it's just history is going to, the recent history is going to prove that. And it's unfortunate. Because you're right. I don't think most people want this book. And I don't think it has anything to do with the whole sexuality thing. It has everything to do with the voice the character has been given. Okay, like you say, he sounds like an imbecile. All he talks about is how happy he is now. That's not the Tim Drake that people know and want. And I don't know why certain characters within not just the Batman universe, but the DC universe as a whole gets misused the way that they are. Because again, not the biggest Tim fan, but Tim has a very prominent place in the Batman universe and with Batman. And I don't think what DC has done as of late does him any justice.
Yeah. And that unfortunately goes back before Fitzmartin started doing her storyline.
Most definitely.
They haven't. I think the last time that Tim really had a good direction was when Tynion was writing him.
And that didn't last long.
Comics.
It didn't last long. But I gotta ask this stuff, Ian. I want to hear your answer. All right, gun to your head.
Yeah.
Castellucci or Fitzmartin?
Oh gosh, do I have to pick?
Or pull the trigger? Bang, you're dead.
Yeah, I'm dead. I can't pick. I'm just so unhappy with both of them. I can't pick. Okay, so lastly, and I did this on purpose, Batman the Night number 9.
Oh yeah, we did do everything else. Yum. What did you say? Oh, the night. Oh yeah, that was so good. I mean, it was so
yes, that's why I did it last.
The fact that it took you this long to
I was like, what's wrong? I know the button chops were bad, but
no. So I know we'd skipped audio adventures, and I was trying to think. That just didn't seem like the whole list, but I guess it was. Yeah, no, that was really good. I like that they didn't rush things with Talia. Like, there's a bit of flirtation, and they push it a little bit, and then he backs off. So I like that they're just not running to it. But it is looking like we're gonna have a baby daddy, and we got 100% confirmation that Anton is not Anton. He is Ghostmaker, whatever his name is. They say it, but I don't ever remember. And I love that Bruce isn't like. Because I kind of was taken aback how Bruce and Ghostmaker just kind of got back together as friends, but here you get Bruce's doubts and his skepticisms that, his friend is going to stick around and not try to kill him.
And now they're about to fight again.
No, I thought it was very good, very interesting, and I'm glad there's going to be a part 2 to the Ross story. Yeah, I'm excited. And Talia's character design was terrible.
Good. I'm so happy you mentioned that because I was going to say that. Again, thumbs up for me, but the idea of Talia al Ghul walking around with sideburns bigger than mine is a little concerning.
And Steph had the greatest joke in our Discord chat because the sideburns that she have look like the old Victorian mutton chops. But of course, Talia's a lady, so she wouldn't be a lamb. She'd be a ewe. So we call them ewe chops.
Ewe chops. She wouldn't be a mutton. She'd be a ewe.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is also a thumbs up for me. I have loved this book. Zdarsky has kicked it out of the park. I have wanted a Bruce training book for a long time. Because, there's like all the things he knows he had to learn from people. And, the emotional journey of that and Bruce's headspace. And
all we've known have been names.
except for Ducard, who of course has shown up a couple times. But like,
right, but all we've known have been, other than Ducard, who again, like Ian said, has had a place in the books. All we've known have been names. We haven't had faces. We haven't had stories, and
haven't had the relationship between Bruce and his masters.
It's been wonderful.
This
even those that he hates.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
And some people complain, "Oh, we're putting Ghostmaker into Bruce's." I'm like, I don't care. It's cool. It's a fun relationship.
I think that's great because I mean, if we keep getting these things of my husband wanted to watch something serious the other day, so I was like, well, we could watch Batman Hush, and so he's never read the books before, and so he's like, oh, who is this guy? And I'm like, oh, it's another character introduced as Bruce's best friend back from when they were kids, but we never heard about him before. But now it's like, okay, this guy's been introduced as someone from Batman's history. Let's put him in Batman's history. And I love it. I love that non-Tynion character writers are taking up the character. I think it's wonderful.
I think it's well done. And that's the thing is he provides a contrast with Bruce's heart. Like this is the Bruce that Tom King made me fall in love with. This is a Bruce who loves the people of Gotham and the people of Earth, and he wants to save them. And that's what I love about Batman. He's a hero who puts himself between normal, everyday people and those who want to destroy them. And Zdarsky did a fantastic job with this in this miniseries, and I think he's going to continue to do a fantastic job with that in his Batman run. And of course, Carmine Dian. Wow, I haven't messed up that badly in a while.
Just play it stiff.
Carmine Di Giandomenico.
Carmine Di Giandomenico did an amazing job, even with the weird U chops.
Those sideburns scared the hell out of me.
I mean, she is an evil character, so
I've seen many an evil character. Ain't none of them have sideburns like that.
The lady captain in Treasure Planet, I think she had crazy sideburns.
Yeah, but she was half cat. What? The Disney movie Treasure Planet, played by Emma Thompson.
Yeah, sorry, no, not a Disney fan.
Me either, but I like the non-princess stuff usually.
I prefer Muppet Treasure Island to Treasure Planet, but I understand the appeal of Treasure Planet.
I like both those.
All right, so now we're going to give thanks to all the patrons who contribute at a certain level. Thank you to Lisa Slack, Ian Miller, Gerald Green, Joshua Lappin Bertoni, Rob O, Tim Garassi, Stephanie Mounts, Donovan Morgan Grant, Stanton's Grave, Donald Townsend, Ed Grouse, Captain America, Mary Garrett, Austin Davis, Johnny McCloskey, Cesar Diaz, Jessica Morales, David Richards, and Robert Lewis. Thank you so much for helping keep our archives up and our new episodes coming. And that is the end of our podcast. Not a ton to say about our main issue, but tons and tons to say about Greater Gotham. So that was kind of exciting. And I was really excited by so many books this week, these last 2 weeks, especially One Bad Day and the Night. Really good stuff.
And White Knight.
I will get to it, but I can't say I was excited because I didn't read it.
White Knight.
You need to get it.
So good, yeah.
All right. I've been Ian.
This is Steph.
And this is Theo, Comic Code Authority.
And thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Okay, so true story since we're talking Batman Day. So my grandmother died 2012 at the age of 89. And so I'm in my early 40s at this point. So we go to clean out her place. Now, little story about my grandparents' place. They lived in the same house easily over 60 years.
Whoa.
And never owned the place. They rented every year of those 60 plus years that they lived there. And the only reason why I knew it's been at least 60 years is because when my aunt died My aunt died at 49, and they were living there before she was born. So my grandfather was World War II vet. Of course, my grandmother just typical housewife. So anyway, so we go and we start cleaning out the house, right? And we get to her dresser drawer. And lo and behold, in the top of the dresser drawer, there was my pair of Batman underoos back from when I was a little boy decades ago. Not a whole colors barely fading. The only thing missing were the tags. And again, this is not the underoos that you see on store shelves now at Walmart or what have you. These are the original. The original. Most of you all were not born when these underoos came up, because again, I'm nearing 50 now. So just imagine the look on my face when I see my Batman t-shirt and my Batman bloomers in that drawer, folded nice and neatly, like they had been there the last time I spent the night at her place at 7, 8 years old. And again, this is in 2012. And I was born in the 70s. So.
That is a very sweet story.
I know. The woman threw away nothing. We cleaned up her place after Katrina, and when we cleaned out the place when she died, we found stuff we thought we threw away the last time. So obviously, she went behind us and just took it all right back.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yes, I miss Mommy.
Oh.
She's still buzzed.
Maybe a little bit.
What did you have like that?
Mike's Harder strawberry lemonade.
Are you serious?
I had almost the whole bottle.
A wine cooler?
I am very sensitive.
Okay, that's a wine cooler.
I don't drink. I'm very sensitive.
She is a lightweight.
I am a lightweight.
Super lightweight.